What's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of Why Do I Own This? A series where I take a good hard look at my vinyl record collection and give an account as to why I have devoted the time and money and space for these physical objects. And to that end, I've left a link in the description section below where you can check out my Discogs account that has a pretty up-to-date index of every single one of the vinyl records that I own. And you can drop into the comments section below and let me know which albums I have that you think I need to answer for. My name's Adam McDormand, and this is Medium Quality. I think that this album is exactly the reason why I started this series, because I wanted to look at the things in my collection that seem like they don't belong, but actually they very, very much do. So today we're looking at Love by the Juliana Theory. This is an album from 2003 from a band that at the time was probably my very favorite band. Now, the Juliana Theory comes out of a very interesting musical moment in the mid to late 90s, where there was this emerging alternative Christian music market. As someone who was deeply engaged with Christianity in the 90s, becoming a teenager, the alternative music that was associated with the faith community was something that I was way, way into, probably to the exclusion of just about everything else. So a band like the Juliana Theory, which was signed to Tooth and Nail Records, which was my go-to record label of choice during my teenage years, they were the definition of emo. Now, that word has come to mean a lot of things since then, and maybe in the mainstream consciousness it is more of a visual aesthetic than a musical one, but in the late 90s, the Juliana Theory were how I defined emo music. I loved the album that came before this, Emotion Is Dead, and when this album came out in early 2003, which was like my senior year of high school, this seemed to take everything that I liked about Emotion Is Dead and elevate it to the next level. It was more dense, it was more powerful, it was maybe a little more theatrical in places, and I absolutely ate it up. And it didn't matter to me even one bit that the Juliana Theory was no longer on Tooth and Nail Records, that this was released on Epic Records, a sub-label of Sony. So this was a major label album for what was likely my favorite band at the time. I absolutely played this album to death. And I actually think it still really holds up, especially if you have any nostalgia for the kind of heavier emo music from the late 90s and early 2000s. I was extremely lucky to grab a copy of this 2014 reissue on what they call blood red vinyl. This was put out by SRC Vinyl, and it is very, very well mastered from analog sources, specifically for vinyl. I put it on this morning after recording a few more episodes of this series, and I just had to come back in here and record another video because it immediately grabbed a hold of me, pulled me back in. It sounded so good, better than this album has ever sounded to me before. And I get that emo music tends to be an easy target. It becomes kind of the punching bag for people who actually like good music. But this is good. This is good. I don't want to overstate it, but I had a profound emotional reaction. I mean, there were tears in my eyes listening to this album again on this well-mastered vinyl in a room that had been properly set up to the best of my ability to listen to music to its fullest. And this was so, so powerful. And of course, that begs the question, why do I own this? Especially in a collection that seems to lean heavily toward progressive rock. How does this emo album from 2003 find a place on my shelf? And I think what it comes down to is the philosophy of how I've been collecting records over the years. See, I wanted to collect the albums that meant something to me, but as my collection has grown, I've also tried to grab albums from my past. Grab albums that have meant something to me in other stages of my life so that I can stay connected to the person that I was like 19 years ago when I heard this album for the first time. So my record collection begins to become an eclectic mix of things that I like and things that mean something to me at different stages of my life. And really, I identify very closely with this record collection. And in some sense, I want it to reflect, the totality of my experience. And yeah, I get that that may be a little ridiculous and maybe a lot to ask of a collection of plastic discs, but here I am. Here we are. We keep buying these things, and I think there are much worse ways to spend our money. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. Until next time, guys, keep spinning that good stuff. What a time to be alive.